Welcome to Mark Banks Photography. Today I'm going to touch on the new feature of the tone curve that came out in version 9.3 just recently, and what I mean by just recently is July 2020. We've always had the ability to be able to use two different types of tone curve which can be found in the develop module here, and if you can't actually find this, by the way, in your version, then just right click on any of the panels here and then choose and tick any that might be missing. At this particular point you can even alter them around as well if you want to, so you can go ahead and alter any order that you want any of these panels to be in and tick or untick them. Okay, what we're going to be talking about is the not this particular part of the tone curve. This is the region curve. We'll maybe come back to this another point, but I'm going to just go ahead and click this particular button here at the top of the new tone curve, and this removes all of these sliders, which can be particularly useful whilst you're getting used to using the tone curve, but once you are used to it, then by clicking on this it will remove the sliders and allow you full grace of being able to alter and play about with these sliders as and where you want to. I'm going to double click that, and that will actually reset and put the tone curve back on the line. So let's first of all just discuss what is an actual tone curve. Well, it's the ability to be able to, within an image, alter the luminance of any part of an image. For instance, the shadow areas, which would be down around this area, the midtones, which would be around about here, and the highlights which would be up this particular point here. And what we've always had the ability to do is, for instance, if I actually want to increase the contrast of an image, I've actually had the ability before to create a simple, what we call an S-curve. That S-curve allows me to, say, darken the darker areas of an image, like so, and brighten the brighter edges of an image by taking this, creating another point and taking it above the diagonal default setting across that is shown across the tone curve. Now that is fine, and that is what generally I've needed to do in the past to create a tone curve. However, the problem is that if I've, say, printed an image out, or I feel that I want to maybe deepen the shadows or reduce the highlights, when you click back on these buttons, these control points again, sometimes what can happen is they can actually jump. There, it's just jumped there from the setting I had it. So it's always been a little bit hit and miss. So the reason I wanted to actually show you this today is because of what Adobe have done in this latest version. What it allowed us to do is, let's imagine, for instance, I've had the control point set around about here. Now if I actually hover over this particular point here, this handle, you can see just up here that it actually shows me the input and output value. Now, just to clarify a little bit about what that means, the input is basically referring to where this is on the x-axis, where this point is on the x-axis there, and the output is where the actual pointer is set on the y-axis here. Now, something worth bearing in mind is if these two numbers are exactly the same, so if I had this input at 67 and the output at, say, 67, it actually will put the pointer on the default line, diagonal line, that is the standard tonal range of the given image. So if I wanted to decrease the amount of shadow detail and make the image in the shadows darker, then I would need to make sure that this number is lower than this number here. So let me go ahead and type in say 57. And what that will do is it'll drop us 10 points below the line, the standard default diagonal line across here. And that's particularly useful to know that if this number here, whatever the number is from 0 to 255 on the RGB scale here, if this output is the same as this point will be somewhere on the diagonal default line. So if I wanted the line to be lower than the default, then this number needs to be smaller than this number. If I want it to be above the default line, then the output number needs to be higher than the input number. So that is very useful to know, because before having the ability to be able to type in any numbers here, we've only had the ability to be able to click and drag to wherever we want to with our mouse pointer. The problem with that is it was always a little bit hit and miss. With this now, it means we can be much more accurate. So for instance, if I wanted to create a perfect S-curve and I wanted the shadows to be 10 points below the line for the shadows and 10 points above the shadows, that would have been really difficult to have achieved before this new version came along. With this now, I can do that perfectly. Now it's worth bearing in mind that this point here, and I refer to where the grid, the bottom part of the grid, what I call the bottom quadrant, where that intersects on the y-axis and the x-axis, that is exactly on the input and output 60. So if I actually type in 60 here and 60 here, we're exactly on the point there of that x and y axis at what I call the bottom quadrant. If we do the same to the above and click on that particular point there, and I type in 190 here and the output also as 190, then it means that we've actually got a point perfectly on this top quadrant. The advantage of this means that if I actually want to create, as I said, a simple but very accurate S-curve to the image, I can type into the output 200, and because that's higher than the 190 on the input, it means what will happen is this control point will jump 10 points above. So if I click away now, there you can see it's jumped to 10 points above. Then what I can do is for the bottom quadrant, if I select that, and remember it may jump, so if you are actually controlling these and you want accuracy, just be sure that you check before you actually click on here what those input and output points numbers are, so that when I click, you can see it's jumped there, I can put them back again to what they were originally. Now what I'm going to do is, with this selected, this is highlighted, this is white now, that means it's selected, I can alter the output, and I'm going to alter that to 50, so that means 10 points below that point. And by doing that, it means that that is going to reduce the value down below the default line, and now we've got an absolutely totally true perfect S-curve. Okay, now we could actually use the regional option here to do something like that, but it's just worth bearing in mind that having this control within the tone curve now gives us a lot more accuracy. Particularly I find this useful for when I'm printing and soft proofing my image. If I was to actually print something out on a particular paper and I found that possibly the first print showed some blocked up shadows, it means that I could go back here, for instance, let's imagine that by having this set to input of 60 and the output of 50, let's imagine that that on a print is means that the shadows are too much blocked up. It means that I could go back in and very accurately say reduce the output or bring the output a little bit nearer the default line. Let's go with, say, 54, so very accurate. Select that, and now I've actually just increased the shadows, detail in the shadows, which is great because then that's given me that little bit of extra control. So now what that allows me to do is to do another print, and hopefully that will be a much better rendition. So I hope you found that useful, and so this is the new tone curve within Lightroom Classic version 9.3, and I hope you found that useful.